Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined today by my brother, the Gritty Broman. How are you, Brent?
I'm well. Thank you.
Today, we're going to do a little Q&A session where I went on a little trip with the family to the lake, spent some time with them. This weekend, I've got my anniversary. I don't have to. I'm excited to do that because I'll be gone basically hunting for like
4 months?
3 months, and she'll divorce me. I've been trying to front load some real family time with the kids and the wife. I actually crave it myself and want to do it. So it's been pretty awesome hanging out with my kids at the lake and swimming with them.
Do you guys do any fishing, or is it just swimming and cooking?
It was just flat out swimming and eating food and relaxing in
That's
hammocks, you know. So I've been really enjoying that time this summer, but I have been away, and we've been getting tons of questions, and it always happens like this, July, August. Everybody's ramping up to get on their hunts, and they just have a million questions. They're coming through. We're really behind. I'm going to start with questions that I've been getting on YouTube. I'm just going to answer them on the podcast. Hopefully this is useful to a lot of you, and it answers a lot of questions, not just one at a time, onesie-twosies through email. And it's the same thing I'm going to do with some of the DMs I'm getting. I'm just going to try to respond to those in a series of podcasts that Brent and I are going to do. So hopefully you like this. This is useful. You get something out of it. Before we get started, I want to remind you to use the code GRITTY at Mountain Ops. And I want to tell you right now, they just came out with the merino wool top.
The Battleground.
Is that what they call it?
Well, the hoodie's called the Battleground. It's the Battleground hoodie, and there's like a zip top, and there's like a regular crew.
Whatever they call it. It's actually a really nice merino top, and I wore it on the bear hunt I did with Ryan and I, the early season bear hunt we did in April, May, and I really liked it. I loved it, in fact. And it didn't, I've said this before. I said this earlier after we got back and we did a little post-hunt review of the gear and stuff we used. The thing with the merino is it just doesn't stink. And it's so comfortable, and it stays comfortable for 7, 10, 15 days, of pure sweat and grime. It's still comfortable when you climb in your sleeping bag on a backpack hunt and you sweat in it all day. Normally, with any other type of garment, synthetic, I want to take it off. I can't even sleep. It's so sticky or cardboard.
It starts turning into cardboard.
For some reason, merino just handles it. And you climb in bed and you feel cozy like you got a fresh top on. It just feels better.
Because this is next to skin, right?
Next to skin.
You're supposed to wear it on your skin.
Yeah. My only complaint with merino is it can get holes in it.
Which is why they went with a 95 with a 5% polyester.
Yep.
So it's got a little bit to it.
But it's thicker than a little tiny bit thicker. It's a better all around. I like the super, super thin stuff. I think there's a little caption that says, "Hey, wear this under clothes. You're not meant to wear this over the top of your clothing." The reason for that is because it's a thin garment that if it catches on some briars or brush, it'll rip open. Because it's really meant as a really next to skin base layer under something else you're wearing. I just, I'm manly. So I just wear the super thin layer on the top and that's it, nothing else.
Brian just rips it to shreds. And then just comes home and has Suzanne to stitch it up for him.
And I have one of our first questions is about Kuiu. I'm going to get into that, but I have an old Kuiu top that I still have. That's the original thin merino Kuiu.
The black one?
The one that looks like a moo cow, the Vias pattern. I wore that for 3 or 4 years, that same top. It has a million holes in it, and she just stitched, if you look at it closely, it's camouflage, so it's hidden, but there's just holes all over it. And I just come back from the hunt, she'd stitch it up because I just love the feel of the garment.
It's stitched up like Frankenstein.
When it gets holes in it, I don't really care. It's just part of the deal, and she stitches it up again. And I still have it. I couldn't let it go because it's just there's some sentimental
Brian,
nostalgia.
There's a lot of guys out there that need to look good while they're hunting, and that's just not going to do it for them.
Yeah, Ryan and I look like hobos, homeless people. Ryan more so than I.
I don't know. This last year, you looked pretty throttled in a couple of those hunts. Day 9, day 10.
Well, my point is, check out that merino top from Mountain Ops if that interests you. If not, check out Merino from somewhere else. I think Merino's awesome.
They've got 3 shirts. Have you tried all of them, or have you just done the hoodie?
I like hoodies. It's just Merino hoodies are nice. Because they're so versatile. They cover your face. You can zip them up here tight to your neck. If there are ticks around, I feel a little better as I'm going through brush and I'm like ducking through. Mm-hmm. I don't want a tick falling down the back of my shirt, or getting in my hair or on my hat. Right, so you put a hood on and you kind of muscle your way through that stuff, and then your buddy can check you for ticks and things, and then you can drop the hoodie and go back to business. I also think it's a little bit warmer in the evening and in the mornings. When there's a slight chill, you can just put that thing right over your ball cap. It just adds a little bit of comfort. Mm-hmm. That's nice. When the sun is blazing and my neck is sunburned and my face is getting sunburned, I can put that cool, thin Merino hoodie over the top. Wind will pass through it. It breathes really well, but it'll shade me from the sun. I just think it's too versatile to go without a hoodie. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm wearing something over the top and this is a next to skin, then I might consider going with the Crew kind of long sleeve.
Even then, I still like the option of having that extra hoodie.
It's nice because it just kind of is right there. It can hang out your shirt if you need it, even when it is an undergarment. I love the hoodies.
So go check out the Battleground hoodie, folks.
Yeah, that's at Mountain Ops. And then right now, I've been crushing these protein bars at Mountain Ops. Check those out if you haven't. This one's Peanut Butter Bliss. And these are pretty dang tasty.
My wife has become addicted to those because they got them in Sportsman's now.
They are good. I can't tell you, they are tasty. What the ingredients are pretty decent for, this kind of bar.
For a power bar?
Yeah, and it tastes good. You don't get tired of eating these. Kind of like a treat. You got lots of protein. It's got a few things in there that aren't ideal, but when you're buying a bar like this and, you're just having 1 or 2 a day when you're up on the mountain, it's got lots of protein. It keeps the sugar intake down.
For years, I would tell people this is the protein that I'm taking, or these are the bars that I eat, and people would ask me, how does it taste? And I would think to myself, I'm not looking for taste. I'm looking for performance because back in the day they all tasted gross.
Right.
When I was in high school, you had
Power Bar
and vanilla,
Cliff Bar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were. Well, yeah. I went on a hike. One of my first hunts. Ben and Anthony and I had this bright idea. We were going to bring for 4 or 5 days just bars. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner bars. And
that's I remember saying, we brought. We'll eat what we hunt.
I did that too. That was a mistake. But we brought Cliff bars of all types and the old school power bars.
Cliff bars about halfway through a Cliff bar.
Literally, we were ready to go home after 2 days. Your food is such a major part, and getting the right mix of things, and it's got to be stuff that's nutritional, but also that you enjoy eating.
I don't think you could have a bowel movement if you're just eating Cliff bars.
It wasn't good. It was a bad hunt. It was a learning experience. We were lazy, and we're like, oh, this will give us the calories we need. So who cares? And we're being cheap as well, college students and stuff. It was dumb. We did it, but it wasn't fun, and we ended up just not eating a lot because we couldn't stomach the bars anymore.
It's weird to me because my attitude back in the day is I'm going to take whatever works best, regardless of taste.
Yeah.
Because they all just kind of was a wash. And then things kind of started tasting good, and I had to start paying attention.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some good power bars out there that are palatable.
Absolutely.
And work good. And these are fantastic. They taste great.
So check those out. And then we're getting close to the season. There's a few things I think if you want to support the podcast and you need some gear, game bags with Graxaw. We love that guy. We love his product. You see him in all of our videos.
There's actually a couple questions about Graxaw.
And if you use our code Gritty, we get a kickback from that, and helps everybody. So check those out. And then Goat Knives with our friend Travis Nowotny. If you need a replaceable blade skinning knife, it's my favorite one. And I'm not saying that because he's partnered with us. I'm saying it because, in fact, I wouldn't partner with him, but then I really like the knives. And so I'm like, all right, let's do this. Same with the game bags. I was really slow to adopt any product that we start using.
The game bags, the trekking poles.
Alpaca rafts, trekking poles. Everybody that's ever signed up, I'm like, nah, we got to use them first, and we got to beat the crap out of them, and then maybe. And it just turns out when we find something we really like, and it's a good fit, then we bring it on board. So check out Goat Knives. Use the code GrittyGoat there. If you need a raft before the season starts, you got to get on it now. They are 6 to 8 weeks behind if you wanted it for elk season or something.
And that was the word a week or two ago, so it might be more.
They've been inundated with orders, so you want to get on that pretty quick. And the other one, for those who are ordering rifle covers from Lampers, from Stealthy, we just did a podcast the other day. You may have missed it though. He was bombarded with orders as well. Didn't anticipate the demand that we were going to experience, or he was going to experience, and so he's just getting caught up with production levels. And I think if new orders come in, he's going to be able to get those out pretty quick. But big apology to all those people that put in orders more than a month ago and still haven't got their product. So, and
he's got 2 big batches in, so they'll be shipping soon.
Sissy sticks, always use the code GRITTY there. Again, hunting season's coming up. Those could be those are a game changer for folks. And also use the code GRITTY for Valkyrie arrows. You get 5% off a broadhead delivery system. You can use the special inserts and use the Jaeger broadhead that are just like the one-piece behemoth unit with the center pin patent design. I love that system, but if you've already got arrows, but you want to take advantage of the broadhead design, you can get the Blood Eagle, which is a broadhead that screws into accepts any arrow setup. And I have to say that I think sharpening-wise, flight-wise, effectiveness, how it pops through a bone, all that kind of stuff, it's really tough to beat the broadheads produced by Valkyrie. They're incredible.
Brenton Hahn is a mad scientist who came up with something.
They're expensive.
No doubt, but you're paying for something that the man sharpens by hand. Like, he touches every single one of those.
They get a
things.
lifetime warranty, and he will sharpen them for you. You can send them back kind of like a Benchmade knife. You can
don't lose them.
You just don't lose them. And if one bends or breaks, he'll replace it. And so unless you lose them, they're lifetime. So they're a really legit product. So check that out.
How many broadheads out there do you know get greased up before they get shot through an animal?
I don't know. I mean, he has his Jaeger wax or whatever it is, where you put that wax on the broadhead after it's been sharpened.
It's like a petroleum jelly.
Yeah. It's supposed to protect the metal, but it also aids in the cutting. I'm telling you, when you grease up a head like that, it keeps it sharper as it penetrates the hair and the animal and hits the body cavity.
The blood, those things don't slow down the arrow. They just keep slipping through.
And you can even see it when you shoot it into a block, the way that it goes in, that one that's greased and one that's not. It'll go 3-4 inches deeper than an arrow that isn't. It's pretty cool. I think that for me, I've just witnessed it just punch through brush, fight the wind like perfectly, and then break bones. And I feel very confident that I can take a shot at lots of angles, and I can punch through some decent brush within reason. And those things can be game changers. And I don't have to worry about a broadhead that fails, like a mechanical of some kind. It's cool. And then I get to target practice with them. The head is really easy to sharpen. It comes with a little sharpening kit, and you just shoot that sucker over and over into the foam target, and then you can just pull it out, sharpen it, and you're off hunting. And I really like that because I know that the actual head I'm shooting at an animal is good to go.
That's cool.
All right, Brent, let's jump into the podcast. The first question is from Cody Jesse, and he said, "Hey, Gritty guys, just curious if you ever use KUIU gear. Did it just not measure up and make the cut to be included in your kit, or have you not tried it? I've recently purchased some, and I'm curious about your thoughts on the stuff. Thanks for all your hard work putting out videos and podcasts. I have learned so much from them." So he looks like he's in cactus country in southern Alberta.
Lovely.
Which I love. Badlands. All right, so I have used KUIU. It's been a long time. I used KUIU, 2012, 12, like right when it first came out, I was buying KUIU stuff. I had the rain gear, I had the pants, I had the full system, head to toe. And I really like KUIU gear. And I think it's a great product. Period. I think that they, in the past, and it's been a while, they were a little lean on the warmth side because they tend to lean toward saving as much weight as possible. And so I felt like some of their items weren't quite warm enough for some serious hardcore cold weather trips. Because
how well do you handle cold though?
No, not great. I mean, I'm probably your average. You know, some guys are a lot tougher. I'm not weak by any means, but I would say I haven't checked it in a long time. I would not hesitate to buy KUIU clothing and products. They're solid.
They had a whole new system just come out a couple weeks ago.
They're solid.
Good.
Like I said earlier, their merino is one of my favorites. I've always liked, and I don't know if they've changed them in a while, but the KUIU Attack Pant. I love the cut. It was one of my favorite cuts. I like Zion Piranha pants as well. They fit me. I have a big ass and thighs. I got big quads, and too many of these like European cuts don't work for me. And whatever KUIU built, that was for me. I
got some thick legs.
Yeah. You and me both. Like, it's genetic for sure. I got calves like tree trunks.
I call them ass calves.
Right.
It looks like you have a second ass.
Yeah. So these, I always like the KUIU tack pant, and then I like how it breathed. And then I like the KUIU Tiburon, where there was little micro holes in it, and then it had the zips on the sides. So I think it's a great product. Right now, Lampers is wearing the Stone Glacier pants a lot, and he is a big fan of Stone. And I have not actually worn a Stone garment yet, just because I haven't, purchased any of it, got around to it. And I have a garage full of Sitka gear, and I love Sitka. They built solid quality gear. In fact, I would argue in the past that Sitka made a more durable garment. Again, as KUIU strives for the lightweight, I felt like, they went with a little lighter exterior material that was a little more prone to rip and to not last as long. But again, it was shaving ounces and some weight. But I haven't checked out the line in the last few years. Been at least 3 years, three or 4 years since I've really gone into that line and looked at it. But I wouldn't hesitate to get it. Like I said, with Ryan, he's running the Stone, and he loves those pants, the Stone pants. And they have a zipper on the side. They're a little hot in the in the hot spring season, in the early season of September, August. He runs those zippers open a lot, and he has complained about them being a little bit warm. But once you get past the first week of September or second week of September, they're like his dream pant until it gets really cold. Once it gets really cold, I think it's really difficult. It's tough in those late season hunts to I just love the Sitka Timberline pant with the reinforced knees and butt. They're comfortable. They're tough. That's kind of you can sit right on, get on your knees, and the knee pads. I do like to run knee pads in the late season. It's just nice. So I don't have any problem. I think First Light makes some great stuff. I used their stuff for a couple of years, and like I said, I love merino. I, in fact, loved their Chama hoodie. One of my favorite merino tops, a little thick sometimes for me. Like, I want it to be thinner, and the sizing was
the Chama all First Light stuff.
Yeah, the sizing is just like random, just random. I couldn't figure out what fit and didn't. So don't know how much that's changed. I'm excited to get out there and maybe test out other product lines and clothing lines that are out there. I still love Sitka. I am leaning towards solids a lot more than the camo patterns. But I'm not going to go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff. And I don't like to ask for free gear. I don't. Like, I get offered free stuff. People don't know. People offer me free stuff all the time. When I take free stuff, I feel obligated to then use it. And I don't like feeling obligated. So I like to feel like I earn what I get. And I feel like if I run Stone and I get it for free, then I gotta use it. And what if I don't want to use it? It's always like a touchy thing for me. And so I don't typically pursue free stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm all about that FREE. So, folks, the email you want to reach out to me at is grittybroman@gmail.com.
What I was going to say, though, is the gear that is out there right now, all of it's really good. It's hard to go wrong. Each these companies are coming out with some quality stuff, and I'd check it out. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. He said, I'm sure you've covered this before, but what battery bank are you trusting on these hunts to keep your phone camera charged? I've tried a couple, and maybe it's just bad luck, but they seem to stop working, or the cord spazzes out and stops recognizing my devices and refuses to charge. That's one fire, one lice, or one fire lice, or
one fire, one lice.
That's the. Thanks for the comment. There's for the question, and that's on YouTube. Now, I am using this right here. Those that are watching on the video, you see it.
Our podcast is powered by that.
This is a Dark Energy
Poseidon.
Is it
I think it's the Poseidon 2.
Is that what it's called? Dark Energy. I'm gonna have to look this up. Poseidon. This is the newer version, although I still have the old version. Lampers has 2 or 3 of these as well. They're
Poseidon Pro.
The Poseidon Pro. That's what I'm running right now, and it handles the cold like a champ. You can run this over with the truck. It still works. It handles the water. Can just get rained on and take a beating.
It's dust. It's sealed tight. Like you can't, I don't know if people can tell, but the front cover closes up. All the ports get covered.
Yeah. And it has a flashlight right here, just in case you end up needing one. You can turn on this LED flashlight. It's a decent little flashlight, just as a backup, just in case things go south. It'll take a standard USB port, and then it takes the hyper fast for the new iPhones and stuff.
What's the output on that port? I forget.
It says that it'll charge your phone 2.5 times faster than the standard devices available. I'm not sure what the speed is. It's fast.
Does it not say on the dust cover? It says it's like 2 point something gigs or gigahertz or
not on this one. It does on the old ones.
Yeah. So it's saying on their website, it's got 36 hours of mobile phone power.
It says nearly immortal.
And you know what? I've had one for years.
This is the last charger you will ever need. Cutting-edge engineering has made Poseidon Pro a battery with the best enduring life. Get Gen 1 Poseidon completely its 5-year trial and retain 60% of its life, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I still have the Gen 1, and I've had it for 4 or 5 years now. I have a couple of those, and then I got this new one. They just sent it to me in the mail. It's a free one. I'll tell you that. But I have used a whole bunch of other chargers, and this thing is money. This is the way to go. I have mentioned it on some other podcasts, but this is a solid product. So I bring this, and then I really like those pale blue batteries.
Yes, those are pretty sweet.
And those are PALE blue batteries, and you can do AAAs and AA's, and they plug right into they have a little octopus cord splitter. So I can charge off of this and charge 4 of them at the same time. And it's just a little cord I bring. I don't have to bring a separate charger because the battery itself is the charger. Like it just has a port on it.
They're regular Duracell type batteries that have a USB connector in them. So even if you don't have the right cord, any old cord will work.
The reason I like to bring those as well is because I don't know what my power usage is going to be. So generally, the things I've done to improve my power performance in the mountains is I went with the iPhone 11 Pro because the battery lasts way longer than the old stuff. So I'm using this for my Onyx and video and different things. The camera is great. So I upgraded to this phone. It's also impervious to the cold. All my previous iPhones, you leave it sitting out by your bed or something. You don't sleep with it in your sleeping bag. It's a cold night. The next morning, your battery's dead. That's been a major problem. So I don't have to deal with that with the iPhone 11 Pro. So I went with the new phone. That was a big game changer. Then I have the InReach Mini, and that thing lasts like 50 hours or something on its battery. So I run that little Mini for all my communication. So through my phone, I'm able to text my wife, through the InReach satellite service. And we have all these wonderful, loving conversations while I'm in the mountains. And then for my headlamp and my UV sterilizer, I bring pale blue batteries. And those pale blue batteries, usually I'll bring like a throwaway set of fresh lithium ion batteries in both devices. If they die in the middle of the trip, then I have my backup rechargeable AA's and my backup rechargeable pale blue AAA's, and I can just pull them out. Generally, I don't have to. If I happen to use my headlamp a lot because I did 2 or 3 night hikes, I can always use my headlamp to my heart's content, and then I can just take my pale blue batteries out and charge them with my Poseidon, my dark energy. The thing is, it's great about it is, I don't want to carry more than I have to. And if I end up having to use this to charge my phone, if I use my charger to charge my phone a whole bunch, then I know, okay, I got to back off my battery usage for other things. If I happen to use my headlamp a lot, or I'm sterilizing a lot of water or whatever, I always have the option to just I have rechargeable batteries for those devices as well. Yeah. I just like the comfort of knowing they're rechargeable.
Batteries are heavy.
Yeah, and the pale blue don't weigh anything.
Yeah, they're super light.
They're light. They're like your lithium ion. So anyway, that's my kind of charging setup, how I run it. I've talked about it before, so I apologize to those that have heard this before, but it's a great charger. Moving on, somebody said, Eric Rose, he said, how are the sheep feet working out for you? Have you had time to test them out or not? Trying to decide if you want to order some or not. For those who don't know, Sheep Feet is a custom orthotic. They take an imprint in your foot, they build the orthotic, boom, you slide it in your boot.
They send you a kit and a little video, and you make a mold of your foot.
Yep.
And so it's perfectly custom to you.
And when you use the code GRITTY, you save. Is it gritty sheep, gritty. Or you'll find the code.
All the codes are in the description.
In the description of the video, but they've been amazing. They have been amazing. I in the past I used the green Super Feet. They always took a while to break in. They're never custom. They had their issues. They were a little better than what comes natural with your boots. But I'm
too spoiled for this whole breaking in nonsense.
Yeah, as I've been using the Sheep Feet, I'm like, all right, this is money. This is almost ridiculously comfortable. I'm not getting any feet pain. Like I never got that before either, but there is less kind of foot cramping and fatigue when I crawl in my sleep bag at night and, flex my toes and all that. There's definitely less toll being taken. So I don't know how that's going to translate over time, but I highly recommend them. I think so far I'm impressed. Ryan has run them longer than I have, 6 months on some hardcore hunts, and he loves them. Now, there was a response to this question from a guy named GB, or the handle GB, and he said, I figure I'll weigh in here. The Sheep Feet are great if you needn't correct anything going on with your feet, collapsed arches, etc. If you have some feet issues, I would suggest you see a podiatrist who can take a mold and then have inserts made that help to correct any issues you have. I had to go to the podiatrist route, which is about the same price, minus the doctor visit. Again, nothing bad to say about the product, just depends on your personal reason for getting them. Hope this helps. So there's some insight there. If you happen to have a foot problem or something that's pathological going on with your foot, what he's saying is you could go see a podiatrist and he'll build something that'll sort of help fix the issues that are ongoing with your feet. I would always recommend, if you have some foot problems, to go see a doctor, go see a doctor. Although I don't put as much faith in standard doctors as some.
My rule of thumb is I need to see about 6 doctors before I get the medical attention
something
that I
useful.
need. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something to think about. I think that the Sheep Feet system, you're getting a true professional custom orthotic that these guys have perfected over time. And we did a podcast with them. If you want to go back and check that out, do it. We go into some detail on how the company came to be, who's behind the company, the doctors that are helping design it and build it and so forth, and the products they use in the molds. I will say that these are particularly comfortable with the layers of foam and stuff that they use and their lifetime. You can always send them back in when parts of it wear out because the orthotic never will. And Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome product.
We did that podcast. Is episode 568 for those that are wondering.
All right. Richard Coelho said, how come every time I watch one of your gear dumps, it costs me money?
Well, it's true.
That means I'm doing my job. Have you tried the Guide versus the Nevada? From what I can tell, the biggest difference is the boot height. Curious on your take. As far as I know, that's the difference. I have not used the Guide. It's just a little bit taller, as far as I know. Otherwise, it performs a lot like the Nevada. I don't need any more height out of the Guide, out of the Nevada, rather.
Because it has the ABS system, right?
It has the ABBS, ankle bone brace support system, something like that.
Yeah, ankle bone
support system. Anyway,
we're an authority, folks.
Yes,
us.
The is it ABBS or ABSS?
It's the ankle bone brace support system.
Anyway,
the ABBSSS.
The Crispy has a thing where, there's boots that have this extra.
It's an
ankle support system. And so far, I've never sprained an ankle wearing a boot with that system in it. And it does give me peace of mind because I'm like, dang, I've done some serious gnarly stuff, some heavy, heavy packs, and I have yet to twist an ankle. However, I have worn boots without it in the Crispy lineup, and I have sprained my ankle. And that's why I just don't go away from it. For me. Now, Lampers doesn't sprain his ankle. A lot of guys never have ankle problems. It's not their thing. And those guys, they don't run that, and that's cool. I wish I was in the same boat, but I got giant calves and skinny ankles, and and semi-large feet. So I'm not sure what the heck's going on there. But so I think that's it. I do have the Wild Rock, which I highly, highly, highly recommend for those cold weather late season hunts. The boot is so comfortable. It's insulated, warm. It's God's gift to cold feet.
Those boots are intense,
and they're tall, just like the Guide. I like the height, especially when I'm wading through a lot of water and so on.
Or it's really cold.
Yeah, but I have sweaty feet. I'm a sweater. I don't like to wear, I frankly don't like to wear a tall boot because I'm already overheating a lot of times when I hike and when I'm out and about. So I prefer the Nevada because it's shorter. And if I want a little warmth or I want a little water protection, then I wear gaiters, a solid quality pair of gaiters. And that's where I lean. Cody Richmond says, the production of these videos is top notch. Keep making more like this. Thank you, Cody. And he says, side note, what bipod are you guys running? My apologies if it was in the film. We're running the Spartan Precision Javelin bipod. It's 5.5 ounces. Ryan and I both have the mount on a rifle that accepts it, and it's got a magnet and a little locking thing, and it just pops in. So when our rifles are just strapped to our packs, they're just strapped, ready to go. And the Javelin bipod, that bipod is in our packs or in a pocket or something. And then when we're there getting ready for the shot,
whoever's up just
slaps it on their tripod.
You're using just one tripod for both of you guys?
Bipod. Yeah, we only need one. Between the two of us, maybe if we were trying to shoot wolves at the same time, because we both have tags, I could see a scenario like that. I mean, there is a possibility that there's two giant bucks there at the same time, and you wish you had two bipods, but that hasn't been the case. We really haven't ever, even though we think about it, because we bring two rifles, because I want mine and he wants his, but every time we think about it, it never happens. It's always separate. We're always shooting one animal one day and the other animal the next day. So, and if we had to, we're not shooting long range. We can stabilize off of a backpack. We can set up if we need to without a bipod. But that Javelin bipod is really nice. Ryan has a newer, updated version he showed me at his house the other day. I'm really digging it. I think it's a really cool deal. And then you and I have been looking at a bipod by Tricer, and it's pretty sweet. They even make a tripod, and so you can. I'm really trying to wrap my mind around this setup because the way the bipod works, and you can take the Tricer legs and they adapt to the Javelin bipod. So you can actually combine the Tricer with the Javelin with the Spartan Precision. The reason you would do that is the Tricer legs are real short, lightweight, same thing as
They weigh
the
1 ounce.
Javelin. Yeah, but you can take your trekking poles, your sissy sticks, and they accept the foot and lock into the bipod and lock on.
So basically, you flip your trekking poles upside down.
So the handle is on the ground.
What is that? The carbide tip goes inside the bipod, and then it screws down and tightens down.
It looks pretty freaking amazing. So
Drew was sending me some videos, the guy who makes them, and they've been taking a lot of shots. So they're fully standing because they have the trekking poles holding their guns up.
right. So sometimes you're in a situation where you can't get prone, and you need a taller bipod. Well, that Javelin bipod, I ran into that on this bear hunt I was on recently. I just couldn't get. I was going downhill. I couldn't lay down right. I couldn't get behind the rifle. It was a really frustrating angle. And if we had something like that where you can lock in your trekking poles, you're bringing those anyway, so they don't add any extra weight. And yet
They
you have
feet of height.
They had feet of height, yeah. And so we're really looking into
We'll be testing
this,
those
and
out.
and the same is true, like because you're talking about maybe perhaps having a crazy lightweight tripod, because you'd have to bring 3 trekking poles though to make this thing kind of work with the tripod.
Steal Ryan's, he don't need it.
But if you were with a buddy, in theory, you could use 3 poles, or you could bring in just an extension of some kind. It's just something we're looking into. You guys might want to check it out. It's Tricer, and we'll see how we can incorporate it into our system. But
Because that thing, the tripod hookup's 8 ounces.
yeah, but if you have the Javelin bipod and you just had those other feet mounted to it, you get the same performance as the Javelin, same weight, but now you can add a trekking pole to the length, because the Javelin comes, it's like 8 inches or something, or 5. Well, this could add, if you're trying to shoot through tall grass or you're trying to get an angle on it. One thing that Anthony has done is he has the Cyclops, or is it the Triclops? The Triclops. The Triclops, and it's a tripod that clamps the front of your rifle, and then there's a tripod that goes in the back that clamps the back of your rifle, basically, and then you adjust it with the crosshairs on it, and you have a really stable but uplifted platform for kids and stuff. Ben has one for his kids. Anthony has one for his. That's what Brock used to smoke his bull this last year. Pinwheeled it twice. There's lighter weight ones because that Triclops is a little heavy. Clops is spelled CLAWPS, like claw. Triclops.
Man.
Anyway, I was thinking, man, if you took the Tricer system and you mounted your rifle into, you clamped it into the tripod you carry for shooting, you could have your buddy's tripod for the back with trekking poles. I don't know. My mind's just turning. I'm thinking out loud, but
Check them out.
yeah, check it out. So far, for the weight and performance, I really do like that Spartan Javelin bipod. It's
what's on the gun right now.
Yeah,
But trying some other stuff.
we've used other ones. They're just heavy. They're better. They perform maybe a little bit better, but you're adding all that weight, and we're just all about shaving those ounces. It's a lot of hiking. How is the I-66 working out now that some time has passed? Was anyone's inReach data affected by the hackers? As far as I know, I had no problem with hackers and data. However, I am not a fan of the Garmin inReach I-66. I used it a bunch. I think it just came out. It's a little past its time. Like it was, it's like a cassette deck when we've moved on to MP3s, and stuff. It didn't, or CD. The idea behind it, it's basically an inReach with a bigger screen, and it allows you to see the map a little better. However, the display just does not work like your phone does. Your iPhone is a freaking futuristic, incredible computer in your hand.
It turns you into an Android.
And so you're able to run OnX and other map software on there. Garmin doesn't have the interface for it. So then I don't really want the interface if I'm just going to use my phone anyway.
And it's heavier than the inReach.
It's much heavier than the Mini. And so I did like the idea, though, of having a touchscreen inReach, simply because not all the time do I have my phone. Do I want, especially on some of those extended backcountry hunts up north, like in BC, all those guides, they're like, they don't have the juice to recharge a phone. Mm-hmm. They can't afford to have a phone and an inReach both charged. So the inReach tends to be how they communicate there. No one's using a phone. No one has a charged phone. But to type out on a current inReach, there's no touchscreen inReach. So it would have been nice, but they didn't make it a touchscreen. So you can't blow up and position the map or move it with your hand. A touchscreen inReach I could see being handy, a device I could buy even if I have a phone. However, what they have now, that i66 just doesn't have that capability. So my opinion is get an inReach Mini and make sure you have a sweet new iPhone that's fully charged.
Yep, and use the code GRIT. I'm just kidding.
So that said, I love the guys at Garmin, and I love what they put out. That inReach Mini is a must. It's the best for the money, for the communication plans, for the ease of use between your phone. I just leave it clipped on my little bino harness, and I'm just texting my wife. She's texting me, and we're having these all-day communications. It's a really, really nice device.
It's a subscription you pay, but unlimited is like $15 a month or something?
No, I think it's more like $40.
Oh, was it that much? Dang.
$45 a month for unlimited texting. But you can just turn it on unlimited for September and then turn it off.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year. So you're just paying for the period. It's so much cheaper than a sat phone.
Way cheaper.
And it's hard to get work done when people can call you on a phone. It's much better to intake messages from your family via text while you're out hunting.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my take there. On the Garmin talk, I will tell you this. One of my favorite things that Garmin has ever made that I love to use every day is the Garmin Zero bow sight.
Yep.
I freaking love that thing and will love it till the day I die. And they're coming out with some upgrades and things to the railing system I had heard and some other things. But right now, if as an archer that loves to just go out and shoot, it is so fun to have the dynamic capability to set different arrow profiles for different weighted arrows, different releases, get a pretty well shooting, setup out of the same without having to take my sight off my bow. When I land somewhere, I can just go in and sight in all new, like maybe the altitude or the weather, things are a little different, or it traveled and my bow got bumped a little. I don't know what happened. All I know is it's not dead on. Within 10 minutes, I can be sighted in from 0 to 80. I mean, it's like having an Archer's Edge app built right into your device. I like the lighted pins. It has a learning curve like any electronic device does. Any new phone you get, you're like, how do you do this? Mm-hmm. But if you have any technical ability, aptitude whatsoever, you'll do all right. Lampers is screwed. He cannot. It's too many buttons and it's too much menus and electronics. I don't know. He can't run a computer, so he can't run a phone. He'll never like it, probably. If you're that guy, don't get it. But if you're like me, you'll love it. Check that out. That's just a side note. Keep in mind, you can't use that. I can only use it in certain states.
Yeah, there's a couple states
I love it for Arizona Coues deer, mule deer, javelina. Love it. It's just freedom. You just draw the bow, you get the exact yardage, and you let it rip. And on Coues deer, they're not forgiving. They don't give you a lot of time to range, dial, and take your shot. And it's just fun because you're always getting that pinpoint accuracy. You're just walking around with that power in your hand, and it's just like, boom, shot. It's cool. I used it for my whitetail hunts, some of those, like in Ohio. There's some hunts I can use it on. It's legal in quite a few states. The states that it's not legal in, there's like 4 or 5 that I hunt. Jer Bear, he says, you guys use a bathtub floor or any kind of floor in your tents. What stove is that? He's replying to one of our films. A lot of you know this. We use a Seek Outside tent. There's a bunch of them. We've used all sorts of tents in their lineup. One of our favorites is the Dyneema Cuban fiber Cimarron. It's unreal. It's like 1.5 pounds. It's a big pyramid teepee style tent. And we use the Seek Outside U-turn, titanium stove. Love the U-turn. That whole setup can be 3 pounds or so. It's incredible. It really is an incredible feat of engineering and lightweight materials. And so check that out. But as far as a bathtub, people freak out about the floors. We do not use a bathtub type floor in these tents. We use ground cloths. And like I said in the last podcast I did, which was a gear podcast, I'm really loving my $600 Z-Pack Dyneema Cuban fiber tarp that I bought, I don't know, almost 10 years ago now. I beat the hell out of it, and it makes a great ground cloth. So I don't know what to say. It's 6 ounces, and it's like 10 by 12.
It's all mental, Brian. Here's the deal. People sit on it on the ground all day. They lay down. How many guys take naps out there?
Right.
No problem. But for some reason, when the lights go down, they want to have a floor to sit on.
Yeah. Well, there are ticks, and there's scorpions in areas, and there's mosquitoes that fly under. I mean, certain hunts, it can be a problem. But generally speaking, we'll take a floorless shelter all day long over a shelter with
After
a floor.
having a floorless shelter, I'd never want to go back. Ever.
Even when Ryan and I were just bombarded with mosquitoes, we just stuck the floor down around the base, threw some sticks and logs and sort of sealed up the bottom, because there's usually some gap between the floor and the wall of the tent to let airflow in, because it's a single wall. But we just block it off with debris, and it keeps the mosquitoes out, and we have a mosquito-free teepee. So, and then if you have a stove, the mosquitoes ain't coming in. It's too hot and dry, and they're just out. So no floor, just a ground cloth. Let's answer a couple more. Have you tried Terramar merino sock liners? I have not. Anybody who has, I'd like to learn more about it. Gary Hill says, Brian, have you tried the Idaho or the Wyoming? Both are great boots with the ABS system. I have not tried those boots ever. I know guys that do, and I think they're a solid boot. That's another boot that I didn't review that boot because I don't own it and haven't put a lot of miles behind it, so I can't really talk about it. What you saw in my boot podcast is literally the boots I've put through the paces and really put a lot of miles on. The Idaho, I know Brad Hunt, he runs the Idaho, and he likes that boot a lot, loves it. He wanted to get a second pair. And it's a little more breathable, cooler boot. I like the design of it. It's got that sort of plastic frame that adds some support. It's a unique boot. I just don't have any experience with it. Have you tried leaving your foot warmer in the boot overnight to help it dry? Might help a little if you stick with the Nevadas. Might partially stuff a sock in the top to help hold the heat in. All right, so I got a number of people who wrote in who said just heat up some rocks on a stove, use your hand warmers or your foot warmers, and just leave them in the boots, and that will dry them out. It doesn't work. I have tried that a lot. Now,
because you suffer from severe hyperhidrosis.
I think the issue isn't that it's not the heat. You can get heat up in the boot, but it has to have airflow. Otherwise, it just warms up the water and leaves it in there.
Yeah, it just makes a little misty cloud, doesn't really leave it.
Yeah. So, in fact, I would submit that just the heat from inside the tent's great. Like, you have a stove running, everything's fine. But if you don't have a mini fan inside the boot, you can't get the warm air from the ambient air within your tent into the boot and out, and you can't get the wet air that's evaporating out of the boot. It's full grain, all leather boot, Gore-Tex liner. It just, once it's wet inside, without some kind of fan to blow the air in, my boots just get damp and kind of stay that way the whole rest of the hunt. That is why, Brent, and tons of guys wrote in and said, I have the same sweaty foot problem. Mm-hmm. That's why I want to invent that. Like, somebody invent this. Why don't I have like, here's my Poseidon Dark Energy charger. Why don't I have a little boot fan? It doesn't even have to have heat. It doesn't even have to have a heat generator on it. You know, like I said, I can just use a hand warmer and put heat in there, but I need the airflow. So some dudes, a bunch of guys said, hey, heat up some rocks super hot. That's great. I'll put a flaming hot rock inside the boot, but I need a fan. I need a little fan, and it needs to run off this, or be a little battery operated fan. And I have looked at it, and they're out there, and it'll run all night. I assume you see those little computer fans and stuff, where your kids have these little fans they stick on that blow in their face. I'm like, man, that's what I'm looking for.
There's the Dry Guy Travel Dry, and they're like boot shaped.
I've seen those, right? But they have to be converted to run off a USB because they all plug into the wall or they plug into a cigarette lighter. So I'm no electrician. We could ask Dad.
I said we should
Dad
hit
could rig
Grandpa.
one.
Grandpa, our grandfather's a weirdo. He cuts off every power cord of anything he throws away.
Yeah, and rigs his own setup. I don't know the ins and outs of that. Somebody probably does. So invent it and send it to me.
In the middle of the night.
But I really do feel like if people had a boot fan like that, you throw that in your boot each night. All I know is when
Someone
we pull
needs to hop on it.
into a hotel or to a car and we plug the boot dryer in there, you have a miserable kind of damp boot that you've been running for 4 or 5 days. You plug it in there, and within an hour or two, your boot feels like it's new. I'm like, why don't I have something like this I can pack? Anyway, there's my rant, folks. All right, this one. Chad Shepard says, do you add any flavor to the water inside your water bag, or just do you just drink water out of your water bottle? I never fill my water bladder with drinking water. So I use the Hydro Pack water bladder. I've used the Platypus, but I like the bigger lid on the Hydro Pack, and I like the black material that heats up more, and it just keeps
You can melt snow.
sun from growing bacteria in it. It's not
And that's
see-through.
what, 3 liters?
It's 3 liters. I like that system. I put contaminated water in that. Just fill it up with water all the time. And then I dump that water. Anytime I'm going to drink something, I dump it into my GSI stainless steel water bottle, insulated water bottle, sterilize it, and drink out of that. So that's how I run. Now, do I drink any straight water? Almost never. Ryan and I almost never drink straight water. We flavor it almost every time. And I've said this before, the liquid IVs are awesome. I like the straight to mouth Mountain Ops electrolytes for the times when I don't want to add flavor to my water, but I still want to, because I don't want to contaminate the whole bottle with, I don't know, strawberry flavor when I'm going to use it to cook with later. So I can do a straight to mouth little electrolyte, chase it with straight water, and it's as though it was mixed.
Yeah. If I have no appetite and I'm hard getting water down or food down, then I'll go with the electrolytes, the straight to mouth pack.
We add emergency packets to it for vitamin C and other minerals and stuff. We throw in those True Lemon packets those are like no sugar packets. So we throw in the kiwi, strawberry, the lemonade, iced tea, whatever, all of those, so that we're not just pounding sugar, because the liquid IV is a bit of sugar. And then I take a couple of sticks of Ignite a day. I mean, that's my jam. I like the Citrus Bliss and the pink lemonade. I usually mix a Ignite with a liquid IV, and that thing is liquid gold. And I love that. There's more packets. I know we do the bone broth from Lona Life, adds salt and gets more liquid in your system. There's a bunch. I think I plugged it in the video that we did on the bear hunt, a little graphic image of it. But we only drink out of the water bottle. Another boot question. Hey, Brian, wondering if you have had any experience or know somebody who uses the Thor. I got a pair this spring, have barely put any miles on them, but they are super squeaky. Is that normal? That said, though, one of the nicest feeling boots I've owned. I've worn the Thor quite a bit. For me, the Thor is for guys that have no ankle problems. If you have any fear of rolling an ankle, the Thor isn't going to help you. It's got a nice stiff sole, yet it's got a really flexible upper. My daughter wears the Thor everywhere, and she loves that boot and has from the day she got it. I know a bunch of guys who love that boot. I feel like it's not as durable as some of the other boots in the line by design. It's got a lightweight, upper. It's not built super tough and heavy duty, but you get a real comfortable boot out of it. The Thor is, like I said, there are some guys who love that boot. I just think there's better options if you have ankle issues. I mean, the Summit is a lot like the Thor. The Thor just has a wider sole. It is super comfortable, but man, you start running on ledges and steep hillsides and really rocky terrain. I just think something else. I think a lot of guys who love the Thor. I'll say this: there's a lot of guys in this building. We're at Mountain Ops right now. There are a lot of guys in this building that love the Thor, and those same guys love the Brickstall more. I would argue that the Brickstall gives you a lot of the comfort that the Thor has, but with much more stability, much more. It's a similar warmth boot, similar performance, but it gives you just that much more stability. You're not giving up comfort, but you're getting stability. So that's my take. The Thor is not one of my favorite boots, except for I love it for around town. It's a really comfortable boot to just wear all the time. So is the Crispy Monaco. I've been wearing the Monaco for 4.5 years, the same pair. The sole is almost worn to...
It's very smooth.
It's almost gone. Literally it went from being an inch and a half thick to like a 1/4 inch thick. I should throw it away. The top stitching is coming through. All right. This guy said, did you do a boot review on the same brand boot? Why didn't you do it on a blah, blah, blah? You're a sellout. So anyway, I'm like,
blah, 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 sellout.
I use the Crispy. They've been a partner of mine for 6 years since I started podcast. Kendall has had my back and I've had his. Again, I use products that I love. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be in the lineup if it wasn't legit.
Mm-hmm. It's a great
I don't really care what other boots are on the market because I don't need to go searching for them because there's such a wide array of boots that satisfy every need in the Crispy lineup, and they are so awesome and well built. Mm-hmm. If you want to go with a different brand, have at it. Go read someone else's review, follow someone else's review. I gave you seven pairs of boots to choose from. Plus I've touched on other boots that are out there in the same brand lineup. That wasn't good enough.
Try again.
Try another channel. That's one thing I will say. It's like, I don't know. People just like to call other people sellouts. Cody Richmond said, what freeze dryer are you looking into? We've been eyeballing a Harvest Right, but they're not exactly cheap. We have friends that have a Harvest Right, mm-hmm. and their headquarters is just down the road from us. We keep meaning to get in there and to have a chit chat and talk about it and look at their lineup and dig into it. But yes, that is the brand we're looking at. I think price-wise and performance-wise, it's probably the best value on the market as far as freeze dryers go.
We have a cousin that uses it
all the time.
Every day.
They're a prepper.
Yeah, they are an insane prepper. He makes a double batch for dinner.
Yep.
So one batch is for everyone to eat, and the other batch.
When the apocalypse come, they're going to live for years. They're set with meals.
He's been making an extra dinner every day for I think 3 years.
So and this stuff lasts 20 years or something and maintains its nutritional quality value. So that's the one I'm looking at. Right now, though, I have a $300 Excalibur dehydrator that I got off of Amazon. And I just made batches of jerky. And Suzanne's making me chicken curry and quinoa meals, piles of those. And we're doing some shepherd's pie and some other stuff. We're able to achieve the same kind of performance. It takes about the same amount of time to dehydrate a meal as it does to freeze dry it.
I think freeze drying takes longer. Freeze dryer
is
almost a 24-hour process.
The thing with the freeze dryer, though, is that it hydrates better. It rehydrates better.
And there's certain
But when you're running a mini-mo and you dump your food in there and you can simmer it because you can really tamp down that flame so it just gives you that little tiny heat. You can steam and boil that food and it rehydrates quite well. It'll never quite do it as good as a freeze dried meal. That's why red meat doesn't quite hydrate as good. Like burger doesn't come back to life the way, or chunks of steak the way that chicken does. I don't know why. That's why I tend to end up having more right now. I'd put more elk and deer into my meals if I had a freeze dryer instead of a dehydrator.
Yeah. We had Heather on the podcast. She said, I don't care who you are, you're never going to rehydrate a pea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never going to happen.
That's where dehydrators do,
Freeze dryers.
Freeze dryer. I always do that. A freeze dryer does that. The other thing that a freeze dryer does is it will freeze dry an ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
And some really like great treats right out of the store there. You can just stick them in there and have piles of kind of unique and interesting things, because just about anything will freeze dry. You're never going to freeze dry jerky, because that's not how you make jerky.
Nope.
So you got to have a dehydrator anyway if you're doing homemade jerky, because you basically got to cook it to an extent,
Yeah.
And a dehydrator or freeze dryer is simply going to preserve it in its raw form.
You get about 80% no matter where you go. If you get a dehydrator, you get 80%. If you get a freeze dryer, you get 80%. But if you want both,
80% of what?
Of the meal menus, I would suppose.
Oh, yeah.
You can make 80% of what you want with the dehydrator.
Yep, you can.
And then the other one has the other 20% that the other one doesn't have.
Right. Yeah. But the one thing that's nice about the freeze dry setup is that you can run that thing, like you said, with leftovers, berries that are going bad, stuff you might throw in the freezer. You can go ahead and
just dehydrate it
and freeze dry it instead. Ryan and I right now, we tend to dehydrate our meals about 2 weeks, a month before we go. It'll have a shelf life of 8 months to 12 months where it maintains nutritional value, but you kind of want to eat it all within that year. I would preserve more food all the time if I had a freeze dryer, because that stuff lasts for 10, 20 years.
Yep.
20 years. That's one reason why I really want to switch it up, just because it saves the nutritional value for much, much longer. So that's it. Let's leave it right there for now. I hope that was useful. We have a lot more questions we'll get to, as we keep going through these. A lot of it was boot related, just because that was where a lot of the questions came from, because we just did a podcast on that recently. So
if you guys got any questions you want us to answer, leave us a comment.
Yeah.
YouTube's the place. It's really easy for us to sort through the questions on YouTube than it is on any other platform.
Yeah. By nature, it's going to be a little redundant when we go over some of this stuff, but
thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for hanging out. Right now, by the way, I just got off the phone with my buddy over at
Leopold.
Yeah, Leopold, Riza. And she said right now there is a deal going on that if you buy a pair of BX5 Santiam binoculars, I don't know that it matters which pair you get, like size 10 by 42, 12, 15 by 56. But if you get a pair of BX5s, you get their premium carbon fiber tripod for free. And that tripod is $350 retail.
That's a good tripod.
And it is, and that's down in price too.
Isn't that the tripod that's sitting in front of me?
Yeah. So I've used the Leupold tripod. I've done a tripod podcast, a couple of them. I compared it to my lightest weight yet stable tripod I could come across, which I have the Gitzo Traveler tripod. It's a little smaller, doesn't stand as tall, but I actually am using the head from the fluid head from the Leupold tripod, but they're really close in weight. So my system shaves like a few ounces off of the overall weight, but it's like $700 more in price for the same thing. It's really hard for me to justify something besides the Leupold tripod in the end. And it comes with the head, the fluid head. If we bought 2 Outdoorsmans, you and I, the other day, and I tested them, and I did not, first of all, they're not lighter than the fluid head that Leupold offers on their tripod. It's not lighter weight, and it doesn't perform better. The fluid head, now in fairness to Outdoorsman, I didn't have their fluid head, their most expensive $700 fluid head. That's just for the head. I didn't have that one, but it was too heavy anyway, so I didn't want it. It just adds too many ounces to the setup. So the Leupold tripod is legit. So even if you don't buy a pair of binos,
Go get that tripod.
go get the tripod if you're looking for a solid tripod for this year for its weight to performance. The only thing you're really giving up with the Leupold setup is it's a little bit bulkier, super tiny, super lightweight, but not as compact as some other models that are out there, but lighter because of the way it's built. So it's got some thicker legs, but doesn't matter, if you're mounting it to the side of your pack or you're running it like a normal tripod. It is nice to have one that's a little more compact, but I've been using it for the last 3 years because price-wise, it is the best. I truly think it is the best lightweight tripod on the market and for weight and performance, hands down. If somebody has something that they think is better, I could argue that because what they think is better is going to cost you $1,200 for the same performance. So, or $1,000. So anyway, hope that was useful. Not just because Leupold's a good partner of ours, but it's just the truth. It's just what it is. So check that out. If you're interested in a tripod, get a pair of BX5s right now. Get your tripod for free. Check that out. There's a link in their bio. If you go to Leupold Optics right now on their Instagram page, check that out. And again, thanks for tuning in, folks. Appreciate all the support. Stay gritty.